Hi everyone, hello and welcome to this channel. I don't. Welcome to the space, everyone. So I have the overhead light on again, so I can see. Hopefully, she cooperates today. I'm doing the weekly release. I'm wearing my Red Wing Blackbird shirt. Let me change this. And girl, I'm a little tired. I stayed up way late last night, but I also didn't wake up until like 11. So. And I had a dream. What did I have a dream about? I forgot. I remember when I woke up, but then I forgot. What was it about? I don't remember. I don't know. And usually I put my feet in the water before I start these, so I'm about to put them in the water now. I'm excited for this. My body has just been running. Whoa, gosh, it's cold. Okay. Oh, but it feels good. So I'm going to start this with a number because I love numbers. And I'm going to ask my favorite virtual assistant to assist me. If you know her, the Empress and the Three of Cups. That's the lovers. The lovers and the Three of Cups. I like that. That's the space of community, but like a more authentic community. You know what I mean? Not one of those communities where it's like everyone's like weirdly competing against each other and they're all like frenemies or whatever, right? Ten of Cups and the Ten of Swords. I think I saw those together yesterday when I was looking for the Hierophant. I think I saw the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Swords together in the Pride Tarot. Okay. Just a few more. Ooh, this is cold. It's cold. It's cold. But it feels so good. Feels so good. Feels so good. That moment when one of your favorite artists releases unreleased music and you're like, oh my gosh, girl, where was the sound? Hello? I love it. And the Ten of Swords again. With the Three of Cups under it. So the Six of Wands Golem came out, the Golem. And the Golem has been, honestly, I feel like the Golem is a card that I see a lot in this space. And it's the Six of Wands, but as a Golem, it doesn't sort of have its own soul, right? It does whatever its summoner, its creator wants it to do without much of its own mental facilities, right? Or it was supposed to. Because the feeling that I get with the Golem and the Six of Swords and the Ten of Cups and the Ten of Swords, it feels like there's this space where it's coming to life, it's making its own decisions. And it's like, well, it's not supposed to be able to do that. Like, hello? There they are. I was like, where are my glasses? So this griffin, it reminds me of a dream I had where I was on the back of a griffin with this one girl, and I'm fine, but she's like, "Oh, the air is a little thin up here." I was like, "What is it?" And then she did some like magic to analyze the composition, I guess, of gases in the air. She's like, "Yeah, girl, it's kind of oxygen low." So I tapped the griffin. I was like, "Hey, slow down, because like she's up here and she needs help." And so she did some kind of magic to fix the atmosphere. And then I think she fell off. And then we landed. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. It reminds me of that dream where it's like something is off, something in the atmosphere, something in the air. It's getting hard for some to breathe or to navigate. And the Leviathan, last time the Leviathan came out, it's took the space of all that resides within you, basically. This Six of Wands golem, it feels very necromancery, but not necessarily in that way. Like it feels like someone has assembled something together. The vessel, like I said, like the golem is the vessel, and we're trying to get it to receive the spirit. Right? I even made a note. I said I was going to do that, and then I completely forgot about it. So let's see. Am I going to do that today? Might as well, I guess. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I can't wait to give my body some rest. She needs rest, Your Honor. She needs rest. We create vessels to receive spirit, and we pour our spirit out to be received by a vessel. This feels like a vessel that was created to house a spirit. So there was a certain amount of time. It's very almost Pinocchio. So, like, this golem was created, but it was created to house a spirit. And maybe it's like Full Metal Alchemist. I didn't watch it fully. I intended to, but I always watch like I watched the same like 3 episodes, the first 3 episodes, and because I've seen the first 3 episodes so much, I get disinterested. But I don't remember anything really, so I want to start from the beginning. And so it's like, yeah, yeah, this is Alphonse. Um, it's this energy. It's like a vessel was created to house a spirit, but it's like now it's trying to teach that vessel. Okay, so let's think of it like a seed, right? In the vase, the golem is the vase or the pot, and the internal workings is the soil. The seed is the soul, and so it's like we're moving around, we're navigating, we're living life, and there's this Leviathan, all that lies within us, that deeper sort of like the piece of the connector that we connector, the piece of the creator that we have inside of us that is trying to sort of rouse from its slumber or trying to be roused from slumber, maybe from external and internal influences, from guides, what have you, right? And so it's like we're moving around as golems, sort of just programmed to flow in the world in whatever way. And it's not that like we're completely without a soul, because we do have them, right? But it's like it's trying to awaken the deeper truths, the deeper knowledges, the more us within us, the I within self, right? And that's what this is. Like usually the Six of Wands golem carries a little bit of a not that great connotation, but today it doesn't. But it's like the summoner is like it's trying to encourage you to make your own choices, to make your own decisions. It's like if you've ever seen a movie or read a book, excuse me. Ugh. If you've ever seen a movie or read a book where there's a like a genie that is freed or some servant, and there's a person who wants them to like make their own decisions, make their own choices, to form their own opinions, and it's like, what do you like? And then it's like, well, I have no need for desires, I am only here to serve. And it's like, no, but like it's trying to encourage, it's trying to coax, it's trying to pull out this self within the psyche, I guess. I feel like I'm not doing a good job of communicating it. But if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, right? And it's almost like it's Pinocchio's journey to become a real boy in some way. Maybe I'll title this Pinocchio's Journey. So what was it? The vessel to be received. See? Yeah. So the card that came out is the World card, Ouroboros. And you see the theme of the Star of David or the Merkaba, right? On the ground and the Six of Wands and in the sky. But in this one, it's red and blue. It has depth, dimension. On the ground, it's all red. So we're discovering the blue, and the blue is the water. The blue is internal. Makes sense, right? The red is the vision. It's the fire. It's what we see around us. It's that which is capable of being seen and maybe even felt in ways, not necessarily in a watery way, but it's able to be felt, right? And so the bottom of the deck was the Page of Cups and the Seven of Wands. Here we have water and fire again. On the space of water, it's coming in as this energy of awakening since it is a page. And in the space of the fire, it's something that's bound. And it reminds me again, it's almost this like for certain things to be quantum in nature, it's like a change in one produces a simultaneous change in the other. So if one is restricted, then the other is going to be restricted. And it's almost like there's no way to get around it. And that's why it's like with it feels like the element of fire is like absolute, but it's the size of the fire that sort of determines how much power we can get out of it, right? And maybe our vessels, maybe this golem. Oh yeah, it's Mitski. It's who else? Mitski is like an artificial being, and he's encouraged. It's in Boruto. It's an anime. He's this artificial being who's encouraged to like form his own personality and like see what his desires are and to like shape himself out as a person, right? And it's like there's this great power that he holds within him. It reminds me of some other things. It's like it's a gradual process because it's like the vessel itself is coming online. It's like if you were to put it in all at once, it would overload the vessel, and then I don't know, things explode, right? Heads explode, or things, systems fail. It's gradual. It's a gradual process. And so again, it's like we're coming into this space of awakening with the satyr. I think Pan is one of Chiron's children. I think. No, Pan is Mercury's child. Pan is a child of Mercury or Hermes, I believe. I believe I looked it up. Let's check real quick. Pan's father. Father. Um, Pan had 12 children. What? Hermes and Dryope, Aphrodite, or Penelope? Dryope? So Hermes, yeah. The mother can change, but Hermes is the father. And it's like at the same time where we're experiencing this new beauty in the natural world, where we're sort of living in a new way, connecting in a new way, it's like this mummy is like shaking in its sarcophagus. It's like it's being aroused from its slumber type of energy. And I think the as above, so below in this, it's just that quantum nature of things, right? As one thing is unlocked, another is simultaneously unlocked. It's like one of those gates, one of those systems where like it requires multiple people to have a key, insert the key, and then turn the key at the same time. It's like it doesn't work if only one part does it. It would be unbalanced. Under that is this Eight of Swords, but it's the unicorn. And it's this energy that it's like sometimes the ways in which you're limited or the things that you fear the most speak the most to you. Now, it isn't necessarily like, I've been traumatized by something and that's why I fear this. Um, but sometimes it's like our greatest blessings hide behind fear, or our greater selves hide behind that which we have so much resistance to. There's no earth here, which makes sense. I feel like this dynamic itself is earth, or it's something that exists within the element of earth or on earth. Okay, cute. Wow, that came out. Yeah, at first I saw that 6 of Wands, I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? Knight of Pentacles. There's the Earth at the cut. Knight of Pentacles. And it's interesting because last time the Knight of Pentacles came out with that Six of Wands, the Golem, and it was like the Knight is a Golem. It's the Hermit or the Hierophant's lapdog does whatever the Hierophant tells it to do to gain something. But not today. The High Priestess is behind this Knight of Pentacles. And it's like the High Priestess is the bestower of souls, but it's like we all have a soul. It's that Samyaza energy again, right? Where it's like whatever we do, that's our name. And when we remember our name, we get greater access to all that is rightfully ours. Now we just have to earn it because of the element of earth and because like free will and stuff like that, right? And honoring and respecting the will of others. It was so cold when we left, and I come back home and it's so warm. Okay. I love that. All right. My favorite virtual assistant. Oh snap! New episode of Tranquil Leaves is up. I just got my I followed it on Spotify, assuming that I would automatically get notifications, but I guess I got to select to get notifications too. So, anyway, hey Siri, choose a random number between 1 and 499.
A random number between 1 and 489 is 445.
445, and it only gave us 489. So 445. That's the world. That's death, and it's the Hierophant. I'm going to pull from the bottom the world, death, and the Hierophant. If we're not talking about everything that we've been talking about. Here's death. Death is in between the Page of Wands and the Hermit. I love the imagery in the Page of Wands. Because it almost feels like a hermit, and then that's that literally the necromancer. That's okay. Accurate. Here's death, if you're curious. Number 40. See? Here's the Hierophant with the 8 of Swords and the 3 of Cups. Okay, girl, work. Now, where is the world? Change into digital champions to save and defend the world. Digimon. Strength and the Lovers coming out around the world card, which is 400. So we have 400, 40, and 5. 300 is the Fool if you're curious. Oh, wait, let me put this in here. 445. And it's interesting. And again, it cut me off 10 numbers. So we were not going to get the moon. The moon wasn't going to come out because that's no, wait. 90. Yeah, the moon is 90. So it cut it off at 80. So that was never going to come out. Maybe I should look at the moon. 445. Last time it was like 256 and 276. I am curious because I saw the moon card too. To save and defend the world. I'll be there. Whenever you need me, I'll be there. I'll be around. Here it is. The 2 of Cups and the Page of Pentacles is around the moon. The Devil and the 8 of Cups is at the bottom of the decks. The Pirate and the Demon. The Demon Pirate. Oh gosh. That's very much so like Barbosa, maybe from whatchamacallit? Got squid face. See, it's like there's this energy in pirates and a lot of sort of ancient treasure. It's like the treasure is cursed. It's a trap for the greedy. And then they sort of become these they live out the energy of that curse until what is rightfully returned is returned. But it feels like we live out difficulty until we rightfully return to the state, like which is our natural state, which makes sense, right? It's not like shocking or groundbreaking or anything like that. As long as we exist outside of, I centeredness, then there's always this sort of conflict and contention. So we have strength in the lovers, the hermit and the nine of wands, the page of wands, the hermit and the page of wands, and then the eight of swords with the three of cups. Also the two of cups and the page of pentacles. So right off the bat, this page of wands, it reminds me of what I was saying about sort of like that quantum nature, right? So we've seen the page of cups in this space of brand new connectivity. Its vulnerability allows things to flow in a way that they haven't flowed in a while. And naturally, when we're unlocked and unblocked in those ways, our curiosities, our passions also similarly increase a lot of the time. So that's the quantum connection between cups and water, cups and fire, cups and wands, water and fire. Now, what I love about this is it reminds me of what I mentioned yesterday. And I actually watched that part back and I think I misspoke. I said the hermit. So it's the Hierophant. We take the Hierophant's lantern down into the depths with hermit energy until we reach that point where we use our own light. And at that point, that's when those things within us become sort of resurrect. That's when they come back to the surface, when we remember in a way that sort of only we can. And it's like everything within a certain context. Some things I feel a lot more comfortable saying, some things happen to you or around you to remind you of who you are or to get you closer to that place of who you are. And it's like it's not personal. It's just like it's what's needed to like jolt your memory, right? It's like it reminds me of Teen Wolf whenever there's a space when they're not healing, because as werewolves they naturally heal. They're like, no, we'll like break something else. And then it'll trigger like if you like break an arm, it'll trigger the body's response to heal, and now it'll be able to heal in this situation where it's not healing. But it's like if we are resistant to that healing, then it's almost like more things need to be broken to trigger it. Like towers, right? If we don't pay attention to towers, we get more towers or bigger towers until the point where we actually do something. So this to me is the Ten of Cups. That's the Leviathan that's waiting to be resurrect. So I'm just gonna go and pull around the Leviathan. Remember when I used to read like this? That was a fun time. I was like, it feels like this energy. Let's see what's around this. That's how we're doing this today. That's the Hydra, not the Leviathan. That's the dragon. Is the dragon in the barbarian? No, that's the centaur. Okay. So Leviathan is coming out with Five of Pentacles and Nine of Swords. The shaman and the basilisk. What's interesting though is between this, let me just, well, no, I'll keep this out. And this is around death. This is the 40. Oh, death came out with the necromancer. Makes sense. So around the Ten of Cups, the Leviathan, because this is the energy that it feels like it's sleeping within us. This is what is what we're in the space of like sort of resurrecting, um, with the hermit and the necromancer. Also, in that energy of like things flowing in a way that they didn't before. Here's the Yeti, right? So it's a hermit that exists in a frozen, desolate wasteland. But when things begin to melt, it's like spring comes back, like the end of Frozen, right? When Elsa learns to get her powers under control, and when she learns what triggers it, which was like love or whatever, it brings spring back, and it thaws, her love, um, or the person she loves, her love. And what thaws, what's released when all of that water is thawed, is this Leviathan. And it reminds me of this one episode of a show where it's like the moon disintegrates and it crashes into Earth, and then there are two characters who are stuck in a time loop, and they try to. So they think that breaking the time loop would be like whatever they associate with breaking the time loop is like what actually happens is there's an energy that's a lot more ancient. So in the show, the whales are responsible for keeping the Kraken asleep, and the whales, as they swim along the bottom of the ocean or wherever they are, they etch these magical sigils into the ground to keep the Kraken asleep. And when the pieces of the moon fall, what happens is it releases the seal on the Kraken because those sigils are like broken. And there's this spell, and like in backup, it's like if the Kraken is ever released, then it winds time back 24 hours because Earth is not going to survive the Kraken. And so like that's an energy here, but it's coming out sort of in that space of like it's not necessarily being resistant to healing now. It's like we are in a space of healing, but maybe it's like the things that we're most resistant to healing are those little things that we overlook or that we bypass. Or it's just like it's an energy of like there is a perspective that holds more of the truth that is more elusive because of things that we just don't know. And they had enough time within those time loops to, discover that, hey, like we should go talk to the whales. Whales are actually like magical AF. And then that's when the whales told them, like, we're the protectors of Earth. It was tasked to us in ancient days to keep the Kraken asleep. And so that's what we do. And if ever the seal is broken, then time goes back 24 hours. And there was one character who, like, there were two characters who were initially stuck in the loop, and they were going to the whales for help and advice, right? And she got like mad at the whales and she got sassy. And what they did was they washed away her protection from the time loop. So then she was stuck in the time loop, and there was only one character to like figure everything out. I hope you're following. But that's the thing about perspective. And I'm looking at this Two of Cups again and how I never saw the woman on the unicorn. It also reminds me of like when it was that energy of like Lilith isn't this like, well, here's Lilith, girl. Let's go looking for her. And I just saw her recently too. Here she is with the cannibal. I'm like, this ain't a cannibal. This is a giant. Hello? There's so much like misconception and warped stories and like a twisting of history. Like this is where like shady hierophant energy comes in. I'm not gonna pull for shady hierophant energy. Maybe it's not necessarily shady. Maybe it's old hierophant energy. Okay, so I'm gonna put these back up here. Like it was this energy of like this is actually Lilith. This is the Lilith that we've been conditioned to sort of like believe, right? Lilith, Queen of Wands. And so when we go looking for Lilith, what we do is we go looking for this. And in a space, this is the thing about belief in shady Hierophant energies and us being these powerful creators and co-creators of our own reality, is that when we're told that Lilith is this, even if Lilith is this, there now becomes a Lilith who is this through the space of collective belief, through the space of a collective acceptance of cognition. Right? It's like if enough people believe in the boogeyman, then the boogeyman becomes real because that's the power of belief. amplified in collective spaces. That's the power of forming and shaping a narrative. That's the power of media and controlling the media. And we see it in a very, very real way. Like, I remember I had a roommate who was from China, and he was like, I was told to like be wary of black people when I go to America. And I'm like, what? Like, how do y'all even have these stereotypes over there? Like, y'all don't even have that many black people in China. Like he had never interacted with anyone black, but he knew to fear black people when he got here. And that's the power of narrative. It's the power of media. It's the power of consistently portraying something in a very similar way in a space where in a space where we don't have the ability to form our own opinions. Again, that's the danger of taking the lamp of the Hierophant into these deep places. Because if we take the Hierophant's lamp all the way down here, what we're doing is we're resurrecting like old Hierophant energies rather than resurrecting ourselves, right? That's why sometimes it's important to respect the high priestess, and it's important to leave things unknown, because it's our projection of what we know into spaces that we don't know that causes this to happen. Now we have this energy running around when this energy was originally this energy. But we don't get this. We don't see this because we're looking for it here. Right? That's why sometimes it's more beneficial for us to just live life, find out, to get the experience before buying into or being programmed into already hold a belief. And it's like it's like all over the world we have these like preconceptions about people or places or spaces because it's what we've always seen, right? It's what we've always heard. It's how things have always been. And so we approach it and we're projecting something in there that isn't necessarily there. Now, the cards that came out around Lilith was the dwarf and the cannibal. It's interesting because we have the dwarf and the giant. The cannibal is a giant. That's Jack right there. This person in the cannibal's hand reminds me of the Four of Pentacles from the Pride Tarot. That shady card that I'm like, ew, he just looks so weird and so creepy. The giant has him now. So now there's this other energy of like, there are things within the collective that are in this space of being corrected, especially when it comes to certain Hierophant energies and how we move forward into the future. But it's almost like those Hierophant energies built fail safes into our own consciousnesses by planting these seeds of like, when this happens, then it's something else, right? And it's like, well, eventually that's going to happen. So eventually it's going to be time for these things that have been planted to grow. But they only sort of grow within us to the amount in which they're allowed, which again goes back to this energy of like misconceptions. And it goes back to this energy of when a not so great Hierophant jacks the power of your belief and uses your belief to manifest things that it wants that you don't necessarily want. Again, which is why it's important for us to connect to form a connection with spirit ourselves and to come to know ourselves in our entirety, light, dark, shadow, ego, spiritual, man, beast, all together outside of this, because this keeps things frozen. It keeps the truth of you locked down in like this deep freeze isolation. Girl, this is only like, I still got two more pairs. It's fine. Okay. You follow me? Take it as it resonates. This is my disclaimer to take everything as it resonates. If it doesn't apply to you, then don't take it. Hello? So the Two of Cups was here around the moon. So this is what this Two of Cups is for. We have the big and the small. There's an energy here that's like it's able to it's like through this power of misconception, through the power, because the Hierophant is a light, The Hierophant is a light that in some systems is highly manipulated. And so it's like the positioning of the light and the number of mirrors and how everything is angled. It's like it can make a shadow look really big or it can make a shadow look really small. And so it's this energy of like, there are things that are important that it will minimize. And there are these things that aren't necessarily as relevant that it will maximize. And also, it's the power of media, right? But also, it's like we've been so conditioned by it for so long that even our own sort of internal sense of perspective can get distorted, right? It's like when there's a shift and when there's a change, then it's almost like we're programmed to respond to that shift and change because we, as humans in general, don't like change because it's uncomfortable, it's unknown, it's whatever. So we hold on to what we know and we continue to project what we know. But projecting what we know, what we've been convinced to believe, does the situation a disservice. It keeps us as seeing this rather than as seeing the truth of this. Okay. So finally, um, how do I want to do this? There we go. Maybe I'll take a picture of this and put it in the thumbnail. I always say that, but then I forget to take the picture. So the cards that came out around the 10 of Cups, it's the Five of Pentacles Shaman and the Nine of Swords Basilisk. Honestly, like this is an energy. It feels like we've been petrified by life in some way. And the shaman is doing this ritual to like depetrify us, to release us of the grasp of the basilisk. The basilisk holds a very Medusa type energy. I think gorgons, cockatrices, and basilisks all have the ability to turn things into stone. Now, also, the basilisk can run on water. And so there's this energy of like, again, it's being separate from what lies in the depths. And that's what this shaman in her ritual, like, that's what she's trying to do under the space of this waning crescent moon. So, as we're heading to this new moon solar eclipse, as the moon is being made new at the same time it's going to meet the sun in the sky. And what's interesting is the solar eclipse is the only time we get to see the moon when it doesn't reflect sunlight. That's the only time we see the moon when it doesn't reflect sunlight. So it's like there is some truth to the moon more than just, it's like when a planet is over the sun in the sky to the point where we can notice that there's this spot where there is no sunlight. It's almost like that's the point where the truth of that planet, where the truth of that energy comes to the surface. Because every other time we can only see it because it reflects sunlight. Every other time it's a mirror for a projection, just like that cleverly placed Hierophant energy with all of these mirrors that selectively illuminate things. Everything is illuminated by the sun. But when it conjuncts the sun in the sky, then we can see it for itself. Now it eclipses the sun, right? And so it's like, again, it's like we get to see its true nature rather than what the sun makes it appear to be type of energy. And that's also here, I guess. Goodness. So now I want to go down because this is how it came out. We have the Three of Cups, the Witch, and the Eight of Swords, Pegasus. This is Empress energy to me. It's feeling like Empress energy because it's feeling like that's the truth of who we are that we've been in some ways disallowed or disconvinced to see. And it feels like Empress is like the manifestation more truly, more fully of that energy. So where is Kali? Oh, that's also why. Because it's Kali in this deck. Here she is. Of course it is. Kali's coming out with the Six of Wands and the Ten of Swords, which is everything that I talked about before I picked the number, or before Siri chose the number. It's Kali in the space of the Three of Cups and the Eight of Swords because it's this energy that, kind of like Lilith, it could be very cooperative. It could show us um, the more stereotypical divine feminine abundance, radiance, beauty, grace, gentleness. But because we've been locked into a certain vision of that energy, it becomes this. It's only this. It can't be any more than this. And it was actually Kali that came in that dream before I heard allow the world to be rewritten. And she was like, if I showed up now in the incarnation that you would want me to show up in to make a change happen, it would alter the course of what happens after. It was just this energy of like, if I show up now, then who's going to be there after? How is there going to be an after? And it was this energy of like not being so quick to, I guess, dive into what is our default nature or what we've been expected to sort of be. It's this energy of like going deeper, going beyond, discovering these other parts of ourselves. But more than just discovering these parts of ourselves, it's about being these parts of ourselves in the world to further facilitate change. Right. It feels like a lot of times when we want to rebel or be rebellious or do whatever, it's not that it's superficial at all, but it just feels like maybe there are more effective ways to do that, or maybe there are ways to do that that would affect more change on a deeper level. And she came out with, again, it's the Six of Wands and the Ten of Swords. This is that energy of like it's trying to get us to see something that lies within us and not be these puppets anymore. And it's interesting because I've been seeing for the past few days, it's like what a certain number of people are saying that if like if the professional Capricorn corporate, if like corporate life, their corporate work life goes back to the way it was, they're like, if we can't work from home at least part time, then we're quitting. And it's that a lot of people are younger people now that now that we've experienced different, now that we know that different is possible and it's just as feasible. And there was this time where it's like, oh no, we can't do that, it's not logistical, like it wouldn't work out. But when we were forced to do that, we see that it does actually indeed work. And now that people have experienced that, they're not willing to go back. Right. And it's almost that energy. It's like it's trying to break us out of this hold. It's like it reduces the golem to reveal the person inside. And Griffin is just sitting up there almost in the space of the vehicle. But it's like if ever it becomes too rough, then it's like it pulls back because it doesn't want to break us. Like spirit doesn't want anyone to be broken. And so if it gets to be too much, it's like there's a pullback, there's a recession, it recedes. And it's like we get almost addicted or hooked to that receding to the point where whenever we experience challenge, rather than facing the challenge, we sort of and we brace ourselves to take whatever impact before the storm moves along. And that's why we stay relatively stagnant. Because again, it's like instead of being in the space of rising to that occasion, instead of doing more, we're used to, well, eventually, like it'll slow down, things will go back to normal. And it's like, if that's how we continue to do this, then we won't experience any progression. It's like, when the going gets tough, the tough get going type of energy, but no one ever gets going because they wait for things to be less tough. So this is like it's a tower and a star. So I'm actually going to pull both. Well, here's the tower. It's the Eight of Pentacles zombie and the Eight of Cups pirate. Both of these energies are dead. And neither one of them necessarily looks like it's in a space of resurrection. The necromancer is over here. And let's look at the star. The star is the tooth fairy in this deck, I think. Oh, use this whole deck here in a second. Yeah, see, it's coming out again. So the star, again, it's that energy of all that lies within you. Now it's the Kraken. We've seen the Leviathan. And again, with that Kraken, with that Leviathan energy, it's like old Hierophant energy has implanted these fail safes into us consciously, subconsciously, so that when things begin to shift in a direction that lies outside of the realm of control of the Hierophant, then we start to feel a certain way internally. And then we go back to the comfort and the safety of that old Hierophant. It's like if you have a kid and you convince them to be afraid of everything, and then they try to go out and experience life and they keep running back to you. Because that's not how people typically raise children, but it's like that's like when there's an impressionable sort of person and you take advantage of their gullibility or their impressionability or just the fact that they don't have any experiences and they don't know, so they look to you for guidance and advice because you're respected or seen as wise in their eyes, and you use that against them to keep them dependent upon you to the point where they can't grow outside of themselves or where they can't grow into themselves outside of you. That's this energy. Where did that pirate go? Where's the pirate? The Eight of Pentacles is here. The Eight of Cups is gone. I don't know where the pirate went to. Hopefully the pirate isn't in the water, because I am not trying to have no damaged cards, please. Ooh. Oh gosh, it fell beside the tab. And it's face down. Thank you. I was like, I feel like I would have felt it in the water. I'm going to leave it there. No, I'm not, because I'll forget it. Self awareness, it helps. That's what keeps things dead. Because it's like we keep these old, decrepit energies behind the wheel of our own ships, and it doesn't take us anywhere new. It was never designed to. And a lot of them don't intend to give up their power or give up their control or give up what they've spent so long building so easily. But on the other side of things, it's the Two of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups, the Elf and the Kraken. I feel like this is spirit. This is like the messages that spirit sends you. This is the people that spirit sends into your life. These are those set of experiences that make you want more. In the spaces of tower moments where it's like, wow, this is really uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. This is really uncomfortable. But there is something in this that I actually want. There is something in this that I actually desire. It's like spirit is like sharpshooting from an incredible distance, not only from an incredible distance, but into the water. And water naturally changes the trajectory of arrows, of anything that you put into it. Water even changes the trajectory of light. That's why at the bottom of the ocean there is no light, because it's like it scatters sunlight and it penetrates so deeply, but below that it's so much light is scattered it doesn't go any further. That's the natural property of light. It's like, again, it's like Hierophant energy is capitalizing on these natural sort of humanistic properties in a way that is not that great. Like, we're born here and we don't know anything. We have to be taught, we have to be conditioned to survive or to find a footing or to just, like, even when you learn a language, right, to be able to communicate with other people. And what it's doing is, again, it's like it's sharpshooting. It reminds me of the energy of the seal, again, the sigil that the whale sketch into the ground to keep the Kraken asleep. But now, instead of like the entire moon decimating Earth and releasing the Kraken, again, they thought they were getting a reset because Earth was destroyed. It's like, no, you're getting a reset because the Kraken was released. But it took time for them to know that. It's like it's trying to be strategic. It's trying to get to you in a way that maybe old Hierophants don't, like, it doesn't ping anything on old Hierophant's radar. This is very much so the path of least resistance. This is the path of least resistance coming out with the star, which is often a card of healing. And again, that's that energy of like we heal the things that are easier to heal. We heal the things that aren't as sort of deeply rooted sometimes. That's again that energy. It's not necessarily misdirection, but it's like there are things that we could. It's just like we don't know what we don't know. And there are just things that we're not looking at, and there are things that we are looking at. So when it gets to the things that we don't look at, or that the things that we feel justified in, we don't give those things as much time, energy, or effort. We wait for the storm to subside and to continue moving. But it's like here is spirit taking the path of least resistance to get you to see more, do more, heal, whatever you need to do. So now we come over to strength and the lovers. Strength and the lovers is simple. This is us being in the position to decide, to make those hard choices, to take the difficult roads, the roads less traveled, to go outside of this hermit, or to go outside of the Hierophant and discover truly what lies within us as we're being guided by spirit, and to actually do it. It's leaving fear behind, it's leaving indecisiveness behind, it's leaving like deductive reasoning behind. It's not convincing ourselves out of doing the things that we like know we need to do. It's actually like instead of just bracing ourselves waiting for the storm to blow over, this is us going inside and correcting what needs to be corrected. North Node Gemini, right? This is Gemini energy in the lovers. This is us actually making the choices and decisions rather than just sitting at home and theorizing and philosophizing about it like Sagittarius would. That's what Sagittarius does. And for what Sagittarius does in those spaces where it's needed or wanted, or any space really, it has a benefit, but we also need to begin to do, right? So the last card is this Page of Pentacles, Baron Samedi. This honestly, this is like old Hierophant energy. And the tales it tells, the how it controls narrative and media, how it convinces us to see things a certain way before we even go into a space to experience it ourselves, or like we're not even connected to our own body of experience because we're so convinced to just we buy it the way Hierophant sells it. And I feel like this message isn't necessarily new, but I also feel like sometimes there are incredibly small things that we could very easily dismiss or not pay attention to. That spirit may be like nudging and nudging and nudging and nudging and nudging us in. That it's like we're in a space now where it would behoove of you to do it. I don't know. So the cards that came out around the Hierophant, it's the Fool and the Knight of Wands. And again, this isn't like it's the imagery in the card, it's the feeling from the card. It's not necessarily reflective of the practices themselves. But there's this energy here of like manipulating nature, manipulating not necessarily spirit. It's a card of manipulating nature, a card of utilizing the vulnerabilities and the fragilities of man or the nature of man to create this world full of monsters and nightmares and things for you to be afraid of and disconnected to and removed from. And it's like it keeps you as this happy fool. And this is what the Hierophant wants from you. Again, there's this energy here that does not go beneath the surface. Basilisks run on water, Hanuman is running on water. It doesn't go beneath the surface. It would never find the Leviathan or the Kraken that lies within. It just wouldn't. And again, that goes back to this energy over here, where whenever we're encountered with difficulty, with challenge, it's like we sit and we bide our time until things get easier. And it's like the space of the storm is where we have the potential to find like the most power, right? Because there's a calmness at the center of the tornado, the hurricane, the eye. The like the letter I, the I within self is just like the I within the storm. Sometimes you have to navigate through the storm to get to the eye and find what energy is there that is so powerful that it would demand peace in such a turbulent sort of situation in space. And that's what like these tower moments are heading are giving us. Again, like we see the storm brewing behind the gargoyle. It's that blue lunar storm energy. And it's like the storm isn't happening to make you afraid or to disencourage you. It's happening to get you to see something. Because it's almost like it's only within the space of that storm, which is again why the Kraken is attacking like during the space of like choppy waters and like that. It's like during the space of that storm where we're the most vulnerable. Because spirit always takes the path of least resistance. Because that's the only path we allow. We only allow the path of least resistance. Spirit takes every path. Spirit is all over the place. We only allow, we only accept, we only receive the path of least resistance. We only receive what we're not resistant to. Unfortunately, it seems like we're resistant to a lot of the things that actually gets us out of the spaces that we're in, which causes us to circle the drain, which keeps old Hierophant happy because you continue to rely on old Hierophant for whatever you rely on old Hierophant for. It keeps old Hierophant in place. And there's this energy. I just looked down at this moon card. It's like it makes monsters out of men. It convinces you to fear yourself and these certain parts of yourself to the point where you run to the Hierophant to be your savior. And it really feels like we're being pushed into a space. We're in a space where we can have more. And it's almost like we're being asked to ask for more. But again, it's like as long as we're running on water and not going too deep, we feel happy. And Hierophant is happy. Old Hierophant, not hashtag not all Hierophants. Where's that Emperor? Let's see. That's the last card I'm going to look at. And then I'll shut this down. Emperor, where are you? Oop, who was that? The Two of Wands Cyclops. Two of Wands is here for that Two of Cups. But the Cyclops lacks depth. It only has one eye, right? And again, that's the thing about the Six of Wands, Gollum. Where is it? It came out with Kali. Here it is. Because in the Gollum, that Merkaba, it's all fire. It's all that Two of Wands. It lacks depth. That's why we need the water. Stay on the table, please. Do not fall into the water. What is that? Mind the gap. Here's the Emperor. The Emperor is coming out with the Five of Swords Angel and the Knight of Cups Jinn. I mean, this is perfect. This is what the Emperor is coming out with. And the Emperor is a Sphinx in this deck. So it's not necessarily straightforward. It's like it is. It's more simple. It's more straightforward than we would believe it to be. And so we can overcomplicate things. And usually a Sphinx is like intentionally tricky, but it doesn't necessarily feel like the energy here is intentionally tricky. It just feels like there's so much light and shadow and other things cast on the situation that we see it as sort of tricky, right? It's like the energy of like if you ask someone who is older, wiser, more mature, an adult a question and they can't get the answer, but if you ask a child, they'll give you an answer. It's like that energy. It's like if you remove all of the layers of conception and misconception and programming and conditioning and what you've seen again, it was that energy from yesterday of how our immediate sort of environment and surroundings can get us to form this complete and total opinion. And every piece of the picture is important, right? Like for everyone that I admire, there are people who I don't necessarily see it for, but I still have an appreciation for what they do in the spaces that they do it. And I don't force, like, I know that I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, and I don't like force myself or other people onto myself in that way. But like, just again, it's like I can respect people, I can appreciate sort of what they do for who they do it for. We all have a role to play, and it doesn't mean that like it's not about one person being better or worse than the other. It's like, heart cells aren't any more special than lung cells, and they're not any more special than brain cells, and they're not any more special than skin cells, and they're not any more special than whatever kind of cell in your body. But they specialize in the area that they specialize in to produce a certain function. And it's not for them to downplay their function, and it's not for them to make themselves less than, be out of a fear of, whatever, not a fear, but out of this sort of like, it's like it's okay to be proud of who you are and what you do, even if it's not for some people, because it's not supposed to be for those people. And it's not a better or worse thing. It's just like this vibes, that doesn't vibe type of energy. Anyway, so the cards that came around, the cards that came out around this emperor, it's the Knight of Cups, the Jinn, and the Five of Swords, the Angel. This is very much that devil on the shoulder, angel on the shoulder type of energy. And it's a lot of times shadowier energies will give us something in a way that is very upfront. It's easier. The angel with the Five of Swords will put us in a space of conquering, becoming, growing into whatever this is, and the Jinn will just give it to you. But the Jinn charges a very, 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 very high price. And with the angel, it's the only price is that you put in the work to get it. It's like if you want $1 million, and one person is like, I'll give you $1 million today. And the other person is like, okay, well, if you work for this amount of time and if you do this and you do that, after this period of time, you'll have $1 million. And you're like, oh, well, I'd rather take it now. And it's like, well, the work that you do, when you pay this back, you pay much more than you would have done in this space. And again, it's this energy that plays on sort of human nature and how we want what we want, and we want it now, and we want it immediately, right? JG Wentworth, it's my money and I want it now. But I'm sure if you call JG Wentworth on your annuity, overall you're going to get less money because now they're going to take a cut of it. But because of the situations and circumstances of life, when you may need more money in an emergency, or if you just want your money, it's like you can have it, but realize it's coming at a cost. When if you sort of wait it out and do it the proper way, it's almost this energy like it builds upon itself, it elevates further, it gets you closer, it gets you beneath the surface in a way that, again, old Hierophant that was interested in keeping itself in power won't. It's like it's not going to do that. This was a lot. And again, I feel like this is a message that comes out a lot. Like this isn't new. But also at the same time, I feel like it's something that is very layered. Like I feel like we come upon these continuous understandings and releasings, and healing is like it can go continuously deeper, or it can sort of be continuously sort of level. And no way is better than the other way. Each way teaches us something different, right? The things that I learn in the way, like there are certain things that I catch on to very quickly, and there are certain things that I don't at all, like at all. Like I'm not a very like hands-on type of person. Like I love to be hands-on, but if I'm learning something and it requires like if there's no like instructions for me to read, or even if there are instructions, it's like it takes longer for me to learn that. Like when it came to driving, I hated it because I struggled with it. And I don't like when it comes to learning, I don't really struggle that much. And there aren't a lot of spaces in my own like in my own life. I didn't really challenge myself in certain spaces. And I sort of naturally within the spaces that I was in, I had a natural tendency towards them. So things came to me easily. And I just didn't engage with that which came or that which wasn't as comfortable, or I would find someone who would be able to do it better, right? And so in that space, it's like again, it's like there are things that I can catch on to, but there are ways that I'm not. I talked to my Aries best friend, my journey buddy, and she's like, the universe responds to doing, the universe responds to action. Like sometimes you got to do stuff, and I'm like, well, you're an Aries and I'm a Pisces, so I'm just gonna keep dreaming about it. I'm just gonna keep thinking about it, and maybe it'll just happen by itself, and I won't have to do anything. And it's like, yeah, maybe, girl, or you could do something. I'm like, what? Do something? What do I look like? A cardinal sign? Even though I have what? One placement in Aries, I have two placements in Capricorn, one in Cancer, and one in Libra. So, I have five cardinal placements. But I feel like when I have all those, it's like I can start something, but then I don't see it through to the end. So I'm like, is that a mutable thing or a fixed thing? Does it matter? You see how I intellectualize this when it's like, or you could just do what you feel guided to do, what you know you should do without like all of this, girl. Like there are so many things I'm like, well, is it like this? Is it like that? But at the same time, it's like, well, does it matter? It's like, does it really matter which came first, the chicken or the egg? What what does that information sort of change? Sometimes it will matter. I'm not saying it doesn't. Sometimes it will. But in the situations and circumstances that I guess I find myself in this time of transition, then it's like question of like, doesn't matter. Just embrace what we're coming into. Things were the way they were to first of all get you to grow in a certain way, and then to second of all get you to break those molds so that you come into a truer version of you. And again, it's that like trying to cultivate something within the clay pot that is the golem that will become this mighty plant that is the Leviathan, the Kraken, the you that is within you, waiting to be expressed, released, discovered, and whatnot, right? And it's those parts of ourselves that it's become so convenient or easy or expected to sort of like shy away from, to hide, to not venture into or explore for whatever reason. But again, it's like it creates this dynamic where there are energies that exist in places that they shouldn't. And it's not that they can't exist there because they do, but it's like that shouldn't necessarily be the case. I don't know. Watched the video yesterday. So, final message. Let's get this. Let's go. There we go. Mm. The final card is the Three of Swords Alien. Honestly, with this Three of Swords Alien card, it's like you're here for a reason. With the Five of Swords, or with the Five of Wands Chimera, again, that's the energy of us discovering all of these different sort of sides and facets to ourselves, and whatever way your ancestral genetic makeup is built along your line and lines to give you the certain set of gifts and skills and abilities and whatever history to make something, to make you. It's like you're here for a reason. And sometimes we're so busy looking for escape or looking for a way out that we might miss it. We might miss something that's very what we want on the ground, like right in front of us. But hurt and pain will do that. It is the Three of Swords, right? So that's what I got. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. I hope that you are doing whatever it is that you need to be doing in this moment to get you to be wherever it is that you need to be. And if you're here in this moment, like You're doing good. I'm not gonna say you could be doing better, but we could always be better. And it's like us, it's like the fact that we can always be better is not to take any of the appreciation out of now. It's not like we can hold multiple things at once, right? It's not that because I want something to work out better or because I want an improvement in this area of my life that I'm not appreciative and grateful for all of the things that I'm appreciative and grateful for. Like I can hold both at the same time because I know that I'm not yet where I want me to be, where spirit is guiding me to be, right? And I think sometimes it's almost like gratitude or appreciation or some things can be a trap to keep us where we are. But at the same time, again, it's like it's important to remember to hold those things. So is it a trap? No. It's about balance, right? And that's the thing. It's like things being quantum, it's like quantum leaps, quantum shifts. These are quantum connected. It's a quantum 5D. I feel like if something is inherently quantum, it holds a completely different set of rules, regulations, physical phenomena than what we're used to where we are in this cause effect reality. And cause effect, it's like one thing happens and then something else happens, and it's like this domino effect. When things are quantum, as soon as one thing changes, like as soon as I go to snap this finger also snaps. It happens simultaneously at the same time. And so it's like it's very much so like this thing. It's like, we go forward and we go, I don't know. I'll try. It's like we go forward and we go back rather than like it being this up and up and up and up and up and up. And I guess it goes back to the energy that came out yesterday at the end of the video, closer to the end. And it's like when you learn something, when you heal, when you integrate, your world is instantly changed. When you really get that, it's instantly changed. And so if we live in a quantum way, then that's when we allow the world to be rewritten. This change happened within me. I must now also allow this change in the world. Or I desire this change in the world. So I must also, at the same time, at the same pace, change internally. There are things that I also need to be like in the space of releasing if I want a different experience. And I think a lot of times we're so used to like this slow 3D gradual cause effect, cause effect, stimulus response type of energy that we project more of the same. It's like you heal from something, but then you continue in some ways to project what that lesser healed version of you would project. And that was the thing about the lovers into the Eight of Cups into the devil. And it's like we need to take a step back because something about what we believe or how what we've carried on from past experiences continues to keep us bound in ways. And that's something that I've been blessed with the opportunity to sort of discover within my own life. And within like the first, 2 days of my vacation. And I'm like, oh, wow. That's why I was like, was I creating this? Like, was it always like this? Is it what it is? Is it a bit of yes and no? Does it matter? I'm like, well, it matters, doesn't it? And in some ways, it's like, not really, because it's about moving forward. But it is also like, it's a yes and no. Because, like, first you got to realize it and recognize it to stop doing it, right? Anyway, I'll catch y'all later. I hope y'all have a good whatever whenever you see this. I am going to run through all of these days at some point. Because the last day I read was the 29th. June 17th, let's just see. Bunker Hill, originally Bunker's Hill, in Charleston, Massachusetts, was named for wealthy landowner George Bunker, who had owned property on the summit in the 1600s. So it's like Bunker Hill is named after a person. Bunker Hill isn't named Bunker Hill because that's your apocalypse, doomsday. Oh my gosh, the world is ending space. It's like, no, that was the dude's name. Again, it's that energy of like a misconception and how we project, how our projections can be more real than reality because our projections become reality. And now there are these things that exist in a space where they naturally didn't exist, but you've been convinced that they do exist, and you pour so much of your belief into it that it creates sort of like these distortions. And when you get more and more and more people collectively believing it, it can dilute, it can water down. Again, it's conjuring to mind that image of the people in that one show, the same show I was talking about, but in earlier seasons, where they were like trying to summon a god. And the god that they summoned was not a good one. He murdered brutally everybody except for one person who he impregnated. And then after it happens, what she remembered was, oh my gosh, like we summoned the god successfully and everybody got what they wanted and now they're off living their best lives. And then she comes to the realization of what actually happened, and now she's carrying, trigger warning, I guess I should have said that, sorry. Now she's carrying the child of this energy, this entity, this individual who did that. And then put this veil over it where it's like everything looked beautiful, everything looked gorgeous, but that wasn't the case. Was she better off living in that illusion rather than experiencing the harsh truth of reality? She was the type of character who grew from it. She continued to grow. And so ultimately, seeing the truth for her was probably more beneficial. If she would have just been traumatized to the point where she couldn't do anything, maybe the lie would have been better for her. Because at least she would have been more happy. She would have had more peace. I don't know. Everything isn't necessarily so black and white, but that's the beauty of Earth, is that we get color. We get color, we get depth, we get all kinds of dimensions, we get seasonality. There's time here, right? Winter, spring, summer, fall, unless you're living in an area where it's like pretty much one or two seasons. Um, you know. So that's what I got. I'll catch y'all whenever I catch y'all. I hope you have a good whatever, whenever again. Bye.